Hello, welcome. The first social briefing of 2026 at what feels like the end of the longest month ever. I hope those of you that are watching live are well, and if you're watching the recording, thank you as well. I really appreciate you taking some time out to watch this session and stay up to date with what's happening in the world of social media. Let's just dive in. This is me. My name is Luan Wise. I'm sure I've met some of you before. Please do say hello in the chat. This is my LinkedIn profile. I'm a marketing trainer. I run lots of workshops. I share lots of insights around what's happening in the world of social media, as I'm doing today. I'm an author. I'm proud to share with you that my 6th book, Marketing and Psychology, was published. It was publication day last week, and hot off the press, I can share with you that my manuscript for my next book, also co-authored, was accepted yesterday. So I have another book on the way, probably 6 or 7 months' time. Please do feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn if we're not already. Good old QR codes here. This session is being recorded, and as soon as we've finished, I will pop a link to the slides as a PDF in the chat so that you can download them, use them, share with your friends. Lovely. Thank you for saying hello. It's good to see lots of familiar names in the chat today and people joining. So how is this session going to work today? I'm going to start with some industry insights, some key reports that have been published over the last few weeks, wanted to share with you. Then we will dive into some platform updates, what's been happening specifically on Meta, on Instagram and TikTok. We don't have updates from all of the platforms, but where there's something that I thought was interesting and relevant for everyone to know about, I've included them in this session. If you want to see the details behind the headlines that I'm sharing today and some other bits and pieces that might have happened that I haven't included, please feel free to go to my website, luanwise.co.uk. You will find a free resources tab along the top, and as a drop-down, news. And if you're not aware, I have been curating the news platform by platform for over 6 years now. So if you want to have a search through at some past news and updates, you can do that right there as well. I spend my first thing every morning, cup of coffee, sit down, and I check all the platform news rooms and updates, and then lots of other key websites as well. I never was able to find a single source, which is why I created one myself. I refer back to it all of the time, so I hope it's useful for you as well. So let's get started on industry insights. This is absolutely the time of year where we see all the summaries and the reviews of 2025, all the predictions for 2026. There are so many reports out there right now. So while I thought about just sharing one key report with you, which is what I'm going to do in a moment, I'm actually decided that I was going to share one of my favorite sources of data. You will see if you've done anything with me before that we often share from datareportal.com, which is updated quarterly. What I'm going to share with you in a moment is some benchmarking stats from Social Insider. I've also got some data updates in terms of UK online habits. A lot of the time, the data we see is very US focused or globally led. So I thought it would be useful to see the UK focus on that, because I know many people watching are based in the UK. And then some really interesting updates around LLM citations. Yes, AI, I'm talking about AI from social media and what's happening. And if you are scribbling notes, please write that one down, because it's all about using LinkedIn is going to help you with your AI search. For those of you that do like to read the full reports, I've put links in there. So as I share those slides, you'll be able to click and read all the details on those as well. So benchmarking. This is one of the questions that I get asked all the time. Many of you I know are also talking about social media all the time and probably get the, is this good? What does good look like? And the challenges of answering this question are, it depends. It depends on your industry sector. It depends on your audience. It depends on your stage of business. Are you startup? Are you really well established? Some of the data now is so nuanced around, if you have a small following, you could expect this level of engagement. If you have a larger following, you could expect this. The insights will be different on a carousel versus a reel, or other video content. There's so many variables now. So rather than sharing lots of slides with you, I thought I would take this overview report, which I check this website a lot and only spotted this one being added literally this week. So go to socialinsider.io. You will see that there is a drop down for social media benchmark reports. This is a new one for 2026. There is a new content report as well, which I think is brilliant. There's some specific insights for the education sector, FMCG, airlines is on there. Really nice to have some kind of deep dive data as well, if that's what you like. And then they've also got kind of platform by platform results as well. Now, my insights and takeaways from looking at these benchmark reports, and something that I think has been really evident over the last few months, possibly longer, is how we can't just look at a single metric anymore. We can see here, don't worry about reading on the screen, I'll read a few out in a moment. We've got different metrics which mean different things. And if you're familiar with the funnel, we might use one metric at top of funnel, impressions or reach or views, and then look at engagement and conversions further down. So if you dive into this Social Insider report, a few things it's saying, and this will hopefully be helpful to you if you're having to present year-end reports, your 2026 plans as well, that you can align your expectations, your KPIs with what's happening in a broader state. So just a few of these, and not every platform is covered in here, but you will find this within Social Insider somewhere. TikTok's engagement rate is 3.7, which is up year on year. So more engagement on TikTok. Instagram's engagement is 0.48%, so a lot lower, and it flattened in 2025. I'm sure many of you as Instagram users will have felt that yourself and seen it. So it's quite good to align yourself with the bigger picture and to use that to explain to your colleagues as well. Facebook's engagement rate, 0.15%, dipping at the beginning of last year and continuing to dip. But Facebook are making changes around communities, localization, focusing on those groups as well. So again, these are like overall engagement, not feature by feature engagement. You have to dive into those. If we think about commenting, and we know a big trend from the last couple of years was that public commenting had dropped versus kind of behind the scenes and private messaging and sends and shares. So the data shows that now. Average comments per post did fall on TikTok and Instagram. However, TikTok noted growth in shares per post. So that's the share button, sending it privately. Instagram, increase in share per post as well. And both TikTok and Instagram have seen an increase in video views. So I urge you, if you want to look at benchmarks, dive in deeper to this, socialinsider.io. If you've just joined us, the links are on the previous slides, which I will share with you so you can download them. Dive into the different data, dive into the different platforms, and if you can find some industry-specific data, you will find that as well. So lots of data at this time of year. My approach is go and find what you need to support your own presentations and your own data storytelling. Try not to get too overwhelmed, but do pick up some trends which support what is happening for you and maybe your clients as well. So, Online Nation. Ofcom, if you're not aware, is the industry regulator in the UK for communications, which does cover social media platforms as well. You may have heard of it more recently around the online safety regulations, which I will come on to briefly. They have always released an annual report around media habits from UK users and citizens. And they will report on offline media as well, traditional TV, print, direct mail, but also this Online Nation report. Again, the link is earlier in the slide deck, which I'll share with you, was released at the end of last year. And interestingly, Alphabet, which is Google, and Meta account for 51% of all online time in the UK. Meta, Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, Threads, has overtaken Google for the first time. UK adults are spending an average 1 hour, 10 minutes a day on Meta services, just slightly more than on Google. Now, globally, when we look at the data report or insights that we often do, globally, Facebook does remain the most actively used social media platform, followed by Instagram. However, this report, UK focused from the end of last year, YouTube is leading the way in the UK, followed by Facebook and Instagram, but YouTube is top, which I think is fascinating. 94% of adults in the UK are using YouTube and spending an average of 51 minutes every day. Also interesting about this kind of order of popularity and use is that Reddit has overtaken the use of TikTok. So Reddit is in 4th place. So we've got YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Reddit, and then TikTok. Doesn't mean that the most popular platforms are the ones where you need to be, but I think it is important that we consider this, and more we are mentioning Reddit as a platform where conversations are very authentic and human-led and real, and talking about brands, it's a big place for influencers to be present as well. Not forgetting WhatsApp does continue to show really good growth in the UK. 90% of UK adults are using the platform. Again, part of the Meta family. So various trends and insights here. There may be platforms that you are not focusing on so much, some that you might want to reconsider. I think many times we've talked about YouTube and video content as being key, and that's remaining as well. It's true. So LLM, large language models, ChatGPT, Perplexity, Claude. Don't stare at this too much. I'm going to share the slides, as I've said. What is useful to know here, if we look at the chart on the right, and the source of this is from SEMrush, which domains, which sources are being driven through to the citations in our AI tools. Now, July last year, this top red line is Reddit, followed by Wikipedia. We've also got Medium and Forbes as sources on this chart, and we've got LinkedIn. Now, LinkedIn is the light blue line along the bottom. But what's interesting here is that there was a dominance from Reddit and Wikipedia 6 months ago. There has been a shift, and now they are much closer together. Data, again from SEMrush in October last year, actually have shown now that Reddit is the most cited domain on LLM. So it is still high, but LinkedIn is second. So for anyone that is using LinkedIn, trying to get support from their colleagues to use LinkedIn, embarking on employee advocacy programs, for me, this data has been gold to kind of add that other level of why you should be doing this, why you need to consider it. And even supporting that even further, a news release, blog post out this week from LinkedIn. This is the percentage of citations from LinkedIn. Again, don't stare at the screen right now. You can check it out after on Claude, on ChatGPT. But the report has said data is showing that ChatGPT cites LinkedIn 4.2 times more, Perplexity 5.7 times more, and the average across all LLMs is about 4 to 5 times the usual rate. So content on LinkedIn is now appearing in LLM citations. The research behind this, of 19,000 LinkedIn sources cited, over 15,000 came from LinkedIn Pulse articles. So don't worry about the name Pulse. That was kind of the original name of articles, the blogs on LinkedIn. Articles might have been something in the past where I would have suggested to people, don't worry about them too much. The views are always much lower than on a post. If you have existing blog content and articles, maybe repurpose them onto LinkedIn. My advice now will be absolutely go for articles on LinkedIn if you have that content, thinking about how that's going to help your AI citations. And newsletters, big advocate for LinkedIn newsletters, are set up in the same way as articles. So my belief and understanding would be that they would also support those LLM citations as well. So quite a shift from 6 months ago when we were going Reddit, but not in a way that Reddit is anything new, but now very much LinkedIn. I think that this is a really dominant insight and trend to take into 2026. Is there anything else from industry that I thought you might need to know about today? Yes, there's a few things. Picked out 3. One was announced and talked about in the news yesterday. I've seen that it's trending on LinkedIn News this morning. Meta are talking about offering some new premium subscriptions. So this is to users. This is not the subscriptions for page owners. This is for users where you can pay an additional fee for additional features. This will be on Facebook, it will be on Instagram, it will be on WhatsApp. All they've said at the moment is access to special features, more control over sharing and connecting. Haven't got price points yet. We'll have to see how this rolls out over the next few months. We did see towards the end of last year, and you may have seen pop-ups on your apps this week around an ad-free subscription from Meta for both Facebook and Instagram. This is different. This is about features. And this is really a trend that we've seen across all of the social media platforms for a while. LinkedIn has always had premium subscriptions. YouTube does, Snapchat does. Elon Musk, when he took over X, Twitter, very much focused on Twitter Blue subscriptions, additional features. Meta are shifting into this as well. It's their monetization model. It means that they're not relying so much on advertising, which is in part restricted by changing data regulations. We're going to see this shift. If you're not paying for social media platforms and access right now, either as a company user running pages or as a personal user on your accounts, you might need to factor that in 2026. Next, the story we talked about this time last year. There was a weekend, if you remember, January 2025. Not only did Instagram change everything from being a square, over that weekend as well, TikTok went down in the US because they had a change in regulation around ownership of the platform, it being owned previously by China and data concerns there. It has taken a year of revisions, extensions, conversations, negotiations, and that has finally been resolved. Oracle has taken over in the US, a slightly different modified version of TikTok. All we can say at the moment is TikTok is live and kicking. In the US, it's not disappearing, which does have some impact on UK, particularly kind of e-commerce and global accounts. However, I have also seen many conversations and chats that there are glitches with it right now. So if you are in the US, you're using TikTok, let us know how it's going, but it is here to stay. And on regulation, which I briefly mentioned, we do have a change coming in the UK. I have no doubt this change will come through. It happened in Australia in December last year, and that is a ban on social media for under 16s. In Australia, I think they've limited many accounts now. Our teenagers know how to work around these things, so there is still access, there are still uses. We don't know the impact of it just yet. But our UK government have announced a 3-month consultation on the use of social media by under 16s. I'm sure some of you, if you're parents, will be quite relieved about this. We don't know the consequences for brands and organisations. It's probably going to be a longer term challenge with the implications of people not being users of social media from an early age. It's absolutely one to watch. It won't apply to every social media platform, however. For example, in Australia, they kind of added platforms along the way. Early on, YouTube wasn't included in the list. YouTube Kids is okay now. In Australia, they still have access to WhatsApp. So it won't be every platform. Will it solve all the online safety issues that are out there? That is the debate to have. And I will share the next book that will be coming out in about 6 or 7 months. I have co-written. It is about privacy in the age of social media. So very topical. I've been diving into this a lot. So if anyone wants to have a coffee and chat about this more, I will share more over coming months, but also please do get in touch. Okay, let's talk about the platform features now. I'm sharing these not so that you have to change everything that you're doing overnight. Some of them may affect you, some just useful to know what's happening. There hasn't been changes to every platform, so don't think I'm missing LinkedIn out today. They haven't made any significant changes since our last session. So I am going to share from Meta, Instagram, Threads, X, TikTok, and YouTube in the next 15, 20 minutes. So if we start with Meta, of course, Meta updates do usually apply across their platforms. They have added more languages to AI translations on Reels. Now, if anyone does remember pre-Christmas, one of the updates that Adam Missouri shared, so Adam Missouri from Instagram is constantly sharing what's happening on the platform and advice. One of his pieces of advice about Reels to increase your reach was to switch on AI translations, because not everyone is a native English speaker, for example, if you're operating in the UK. So allowing multiple languages can help with reach. I don't know how accurate these translations are, but it's good news that this is coming because we are global and operating globally. They are also focusing, and again, we've talked about this for a long time, creators, slightly different to influencers. You can be both, you could be one or the other. The platforms want to work with creators who produce great content, which drive people back to the platform. And Meta have already announced this year that they are going to expand those partnership opportunities for brands to work with creators. In terms of Instagram, again, an update from the end of 2025, but has now been rolled out, algorithm control options. If you haven't done this yet as a user, it's quite useful to do. You can go in to your settings and tell Instagram what content you would like to see. It picks from topics. You can adjust this if you wish to. It is now available to all English-speaking users. Also on Instagram, if anyone's been in this world for a while, you might recall Instagram TV. That was the section of the app where all video content sat for a while. It then disappeared because we had Reels, followed by the success of TikTok. Well, Instagram TV is back with a separate app literally on your TV. We have seen trends how more people are streaming from their phones, from social media, YouTube in particular, to the TV. So Instagram have got in on that. And I think many people are relieved. Hashtags are not going to be a big part of our conversations in 2026. We've shifted away from hashtags being so important for discovery. in terms of adding as many as we can because that's how people search. The platforms now, their search functions don't need the hashtag symbol. It is all about naturally including the keywords in your captions, not having to put a set of keywords at the end. Hashtags can still be useful if you're running campaigns. Maybe you want to use them internally. They're more now about organization and curation of content and maybe measurement of campaign success rather than about being for discovery. You can no longer follow hashtags on LinkedIn. You can no longer follow hashtags on Instagram. So we are no longer having conversations about which hashtags we need to use on our content. And to that point, Instagram have even limited it now from the old days of 30 to a maximum of 5. And they've said if you are using hashtags, just make sure that they are intentional. And as I said, probably more about your campaigns or big awareness events rather than search-related keywords. Threads. Now, threads for me, as someone that's always on social media, talking about social media, sometimes I'm a bit of a watcher and a lurker before I dive in, because we have seen examples over recent years of new apps coming, being all hype cycle and then disappearing. I wasn't sure about Threads. I've been watching it. It's been around 2.5 years now, part of the Meta family of apps. But for me, the data is now absolutely stacking up in terms of it being a platform to consider. Is it an alternative to X? Well, we do know that X Twitter users have been in decline over the past couple of years. That is the orange line on this chart here from SimilarWeb. Daily active users of X has been declining, but still high. We have seen Threads growing and growing over the past 2.5 years, to the point at the end of last year, kind of end of September, October time, we have now seen a crossover. Threads daily active users have overtaken X. Also, in terms of demographic profile of Threads users, quite interestingly, and this was from Data Reportal, we presented it in the last update, new updates will be coming, it's quite young. The profile of Threads users in terms of age is the younger end, which for me mimics more the Instagram profile versus the X Twitter profile. And this could really be that growth has been really supported, we've all seen it, by just how much Instagram and Facebook have been kind of cross-promoting, driving you to Threads. So maybe not such a direct switch from X to Threads, even though the environment is quite different. Over the last 2.5 years, Threads have added in features that were missing in the beginning, that potentially features that we all wanted because we're used to having them on other platforms. And over the last month, 6 weeks, they have made it easier to share liked and saved posts. So still very similar to the other platforms, it's all about saving posts, sharing them, coming back to them. DMs were never available on Threads to start with, but they absolutely are now. And they are trying to encourage more DM discussions through kind of group chats. Topics are where Threads is at, really. They have said the most success comes from always trying to tag in one topic on every post that you do. You can follow topics and get involved with them. So community, again, keyword, buzzword from the last couple of years, but Threads is really playing out in that way as well. So if you haven't used it yet, I would suggest thinking about maybe some of your key topic areas, maybe for you personally, maybe your professional industry or some interests, and just starting to have a look and seeing how it works and how you might be able to use it. Like LinkedIn, they are adding games. Again, I think this is like an engagement tool, encouraging conversations. People either love this or they just dismiss it, entirely up to you. And last year, now rolling out. Ads can appear on Threads. If you're setting up ads for Meta, you can tick Threads and WhatsApp as one of your options. It's now been rolled out. It's available worldwide. And if you are interested in Threads, some top tips directly from source on this around what's working, what do they advise. Again, I'll read the headlines, but you can dive into this afterwards. They are suggesting share original, opinionated perspectives. Maybe not quite as opinionated as what we might have been seeing on X, Twitter. That's why people have moved away from it. What they're saying is more posts that drive conversations and are likely to be recommended. Then they've said, reply to threads that resonate with you to reach more people. So they're really kind of pushing, be social on social media. Some of the other platforms have become much more passive, much more about consumption and watching. Threads is where we can have those conversations. They've suggested sharing content often. Higher frequency is linked to higher impressions. Kind of a little bit obvious, isn't it? The more you post, the more people can see it. However, yesterday, Adam Missouri did post their own creator tips around don't worry about how many posts you do a day, focus on quality and your own resources and well-being, rather than kind of dipping in and out. So it's all about quality of content, being visible. Threads is much more about text. Yes, you can add photos, videos, carousels, but you don't need to. Again, the good old days of X, it can be about text. They have said jump on trends, share your thoughts on cultural moments, pop culture, current events. If you are on Threads, you will see that playing out. And as I said a few moments ago, use a topic tag in your post to make it discoverable by people that search that topic, or tap the tag from another post so you can see what's happening. So I was originally a little bit, I'll go and watch and see what happens on Threads, but the data, the insights, my lurking, I do think it's one to strongly consider in 2026. So X, as I said, the numbers are still there. People are still using this platform. The reason that people have left hasn't always been about, is my audience still there? It has in large been about ethics and other considerations as well. So multiple reasons why people might have left, multiple reasons why people might have stayed. As every other platform is now algorithmically ranked, so basically what you see in your newsfeed is not just from who you follow. Twitter have now gone down that route as well. And they actually shared some insights into how their algorithm works, saying that they will show content from people you follow, but not as often as their recommendations. So very much gone down their For You page and what Meta have been doing as well. You can change that setting if you wish, but the default is now, we will show you what we think you're interested in most. Copying something from Blue Sky, which we haven't heard about from a while. Again, it was part of the conversation. X, Threads, Blue Sky. Blue Sky is still being used, maybe by some more niche groups, STEM topics, journalists, academics. Have starter packs, which is basically a resource curated that says, if you're interested in this topic or subject area, here's who you should follow. X have now copied this starter pack option, maybe as a way to invigorate people back onto the platform. Slight controversy, maybe not slight, controversy around X related to AI over recent weeks. Grok, their AI tool, image generation, has come under fire for image generation related to manipulating photos. They have now limited that feature to those that are paying for the platform, so part of that subscription model, but it is also under investigation by the regulators. And finally, on X, they are attempting to win back journalists. They are trying to get those journalists back to the platforms, increasing creator payouts on that, and offering £1 million. $1 million, sorry. Unfortunately, UK viewers, this is not available to us. It's only open to US users at the moment, but they are trying to give away $1 million to the top article in the next payout period. So we're seeing some incentives coming along for longer form content and to get journalists back on the platforms. So if you've already left or you're thinking about it, personally, I still think this is one to watch, but it might depend on your industry sector, other issues, concerns, considerations within your organisation. But it's still here. And as I said, TikTok is still in the US, still very alive in the UK, though, as I mentioned earlier, behind YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Reddit. A key feature that they have added over the last few weeks is rolling out a nearby feed. So this is where local content can be displayed. UK is one of the countries that this is available in at the moment. This is about your location settings on your device. This won't appear if a user is under 18. It won't be available if you've got a private account or you've set post privacy. But it is an option to see nearby content where you are. And also you can change the location setting if you want to find nearby content from elsewhere. On this, be thinking about trying to source local recommendations. Where do you want to go and eat? If you are traveling, where should you go and visit? There might be uses for this for you as a user of TikTok, but as a brand, as an organization, if you are local, a local restaurant, a local destination, for example, you might find it valuable to think about this in your content plans for this year. Finally, what's happening in 2026? Not a personal interest of mine, but I know it's going to be everywhere. In fact, I now live in Scotland and we've been given an extra bank holiday to celebrate Scotland being in the World Cup. The World Cup is happening in June this year. TikTok have partnered with FIFA, so no doubt we will see lots of football-related content on the platform over coming months. TikTok have very much been leaning into sport and sporting associations as well. So if that is something that's of interest to you and your audiences, think about that and related to your content perhaps later in the year. And then the final platform I'm going to discuss today is YouTube, number one in the UK. They are making lots of changes to the platform. They are understanding that people are streaming it on their TV, spending many hours a day on the platform on both long form and short form content. YouTube is one of the platforms that actually, in terms of their user profile, demographics, age and gender, is very consistent across the age groups. We don't see a skew towards younger groups as we do with some of the other platforms, or even some of the other platforms skew towards older groups. YouTube is a bit more universal. They have added more filters around search, very much understanding that 2026 and going forward, social media is very much part of the search landscape. So they've added additional filter terms and functions. They've also added more functionality to do things on your mobile versus a desktop in terms of managing your account. We don't talk too much about advertising changes in this session, but sometimes there is additional options that get thrown in to the pot, and advertising in relation to shorts is something that YouTube have added. And while they've added that as a monetization option, they've also relaxed some guidelines around some controversial topics. I don't have a list of what they consider to be controversial topics, but we know that all the platforms do have community guidelines, some do's and don'ts around topic areas for organic and paid content. YouTube are maybe relaxing some of those. Back to AI. As a final point, making shorts with your own AI likeness is coming soon to YouTube. I'm sure we could debate whether that's a good thing or a challenge. AI content across the world of social media, pros, cons, all about being transparent, labeling. If you recall, some of the platforms have now added settings to limit the visibility of AI content in the feed. So I think we're going to see quite a lot of different options coming through this year. And going back to our online habits as a nation in the UK, video content being key, I thought it was really interesting that the BBC have decided to make shows specifically for YouTube. So they have announced this as a landmark deal. They're trying to attract younger generations, is what they've said. We will start to see new content generated by the BBC on YouTube. So again, some shifts in this landscape. A bit of a whirlwind tour. I think I've shared a huge amount in terms of industry insights, social media updates. Some are just useful to know. Some you may have action points straight away. Thank you to all of those that have said hello in the chat. I don't think there's any questions, just more some comments. So I will check those out afterwards. Please do post in there. They will stay live on the LinkedIn event. We can do Q&A, add some more resources. A big thank you for joining me today. We will do it again next month. This is a monthly series. Next month, slightly earlier, still a Thursday, still 11 a.m., but it will be the 19th of February next month with more updates. Don't know what they'll be yet, and some more industry insights. But for today, thank you for joining me.